All right, we're back after a quick little break. It's 1:10 p.m. I don't know what the scores are. Did anybody score yet in the NFL? It's like a holiday. I know some people across the world, especially in the United States, couldn't sleep last night thinking about today. It's like Christmas when you expect presents and you see them all. You turn on the TV, you see every game. Everyone's pumped. I can only imagine the ruckus and the partying and the hanging out that's going on right now. It's a fun day. It certainly is a fun day, especially a lot of people right now tailgating, having an amazing time. I know my brother's there tailgating, have a great time. So good for that. But what we're gonna do is this: we're gonna talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are 13-4 from last season. Okay, so we all know the deal. What's going on with them, right? Few changes. Offensive line, the number one thing that everyone keeps talking about. Offensive line. What's going to happen to the offensive line? I mean, if anything, they still got Donovan Smith. They still got Tristan Wirfs. They got their right tackle. They got their left tackle. They went out, and the Patriots did them a favor, and they traded Shaq Mason, some familiarity with Tom Brady, and they traded him over to the Bucs. So there you go. And they also have Robert Hainsey, who they had last season, and Luke. Oh my God! Here we go with the names. Godecki, second round pick from this season. So I mean, again, I'm not going to sit here and evaluate the offensive line, but as far as the personnel up the middle, the guards in the center are different. So how do they respond? That's why I really believe that the Bucs. I mean, they were a passing offense last season, but now, I mean, I think they're just gonna have to do it. I think they're gonna do it again. They're gonna get the ball out quick. I think guys like Russell Gage might actually have a little bit of a sleeper season because I think they're gonna need him. I mean, Scotty Miller, is he gonna step up? He's quick. Is he gonna be like his Julian Edelman this year? Is he gonna be like his Wes Welker back then? Is he gonna be those guys? Like, who knows? I mean, there's not as strong as they were up the middle from last season, with some of the injuries and the Alex Marpet retired, Ryan Jensen's hurt, and then Alex Kappa signed with the Bengals for a good amount of money. So, I mean, they're not as strong there as they were last year. How do they hold up? We'll see. Tom Brady under pressure. Not that he ever really has a lot of pressure, but when he does, he's not he's not moving left and right. I mean, he does shift. He is experienced. He knows how to shift, but he's not the quickest of feet. And at 45 years old, which is crazy to think of. That it might be a little difficult. So they're gonna get the ball out. I mean, they were number one in pass attempts last year, I believe, and number one in yards. So what's gonna be different this year? They're gonna get the ball out to a lot of their guys. So we'll see how that goes. So that's the main storyline there. How that is gonna pan out. I mean, a lot of differences there. Defensively, Akeem Hicks, Logan Ryan, Keanu Neal. I mean, three names that I would consider household names or names that are familiar. Neal's still young, coming off a healthy season with the Cowboys. Logan Ryan, it's weird. He's at a weird point of his career. I guess you consider him the twilight of his career. But those Patriots guys, they know how to stick around. So he's done from the Giants and now with the Bucs. And Akeem Hicks, they replaced Ndamukong Suh with Akeem Hicks. So, and Suh's still a free agent, I believe. So it's interesting. And no more Pierre Paul. Interesting. So a couple guys who were very much involved in the team, in the last couple of seasons with the Bucs, are not there. But they replace them with some, I think, guys who can do the job. And plus the Bucs, I mean, they're a defense that I can see why people are still high on them. Everyone in the secondary is still intact, so they're able to, everyone there is still there, which is a big deal. I know they don't have Jordan Whitehead anymore; he's with the Jets, but still, corners are all there, still very much intact, and for the safeties, Neal and Logan Ryan are backing up Mike Edwards and Antoine Winfield Jr. So I'm a big fan of Jamel Dean, by the way. I just like him. Something about him, I just like him. He's a good player. I mean, everyone's intact, so there's nothing. I mean, as far as rush defense, they do their thing. Are they going to be on the field a little bit more? Are they going to be more 3-and-outs this year? I mean, how good is the offense going to be when it comes to the Bucs? I mean, of course, it's just simple as like those guys on the line. The little bit of turnover that's gone on over there, that's what I want to see for sure. How do they like what is different? How do they operate their offense? Is what I want to see. Like, are they going to be able to run the ball a little bit, or are they going to just commit to the run? Because it's funny, they didn't really try to run the ball. They only used it in strategic moments last year. The Bucks, it's like the same thing. First down, run up the middle. Second down, throw, or second down, up the middle again. Third down, first down, pass. It's like very. If you look at the Bucks, first down run every single time up the middle. It's the strangest thing, and they just from there play action down the field. So no more Gronk. Safety blanket there too. I mean, Cameron Brate, who stuck around. And they also have Kyle Rudolph and a couple draft picks there too. So I just want to see that. 23 sacks allowed last year was the very fewest in football. The least amount of sacks allowed offensive line for the Bucks. And Tom Brady loves that. He demands that. So let's see what happens in these moments. Let's see what happens. Chris Godwin has to come back healthy, but we'll see. You know, the MO, a lot of pressures, a lot of hurries, a lot of blitzes. I just want to see as far as like what happens. As of right now, I'm not going to sit here and I can't dissect them that much. You can't really dissect the Bucks too much. It's just a matter of what changes do they make because, you know, as far as strategy on offense. As long as they get their pressure on defense, they're going to be tough to get yards on because the back end is very young and athletic. And then they still have those linebackers. They have those linebackers that get at it between Devin White, Levante David. You know, those guys fly all over the field. So with David being, since 2012. I remember when he coming in, and he had a hell of a day against the Jets. I think his first game of the season, Levante David, and talking so highly of him. And who would have known all these years later? It's amazing. But anyway, so that's it. That's it with the Bucks. We're gonna move on. Time strapped here. It's 1:17. But they're not playing till tonight. So I'm just trying to give everybody some personnel changes, just a little main storylines, things that if people weren't familiar with, they know. Now they know. Things that maybe you already knew. I'm just reiterating. Maybe some transactions you didn't know. Maybe some certain statistics that stand out that you weren't familiar with. So there's a lot, There's a lot going on. All right, Green Bay Packers. We're going to talk about, I'm on the Bears. Somehow I clicked all right, I'll just go with fate. I clicked on the Packers, but the Bears popped up. We're going to go with the Bears. 6-11 the Bears were. 6-11 the Bears were. Not a very good record for the Bears. A team that, man, it reminds me a lot of the Redskins in a way. Those teams that grind it out. Those teams that just kind of sit in the middle of the pack. It's just one of those, they don't score a lot of touchdowns. It's just those type of teams. Anyway, Matt Nagy era is over. They couldn't wait to throw him out the door. I don't think he deserved all that because the guy actually did his best and really starting, they were getting wins and then they didn't. So for the first couple seasons, 13-3 that first year or some crazy amount of wins? And then a couple 500 seasons maybe. But either way, one stat is this. One of only 7 teams to average less than 5 yards per play. So again, not a big threat, not a deep threat offense, not an offense that gets a lot of deep yards or gets a lot of, big plays. Let me summarize by that. Not a lot of big plays. So, and not a lot of completions. Of course, not all the completions. It's a typical low, QB rating, low completion percentage. I mean, Justin Fields, he was trying. 7 touchdowns, 10 picks. It's funny. That's what I was mentioning on my first video. Davis Mills, 16 touchdowns, 10 picks, right, for the Texans. And then you have Justin Fields, first high draft pick, first round, 7 touchdowns, 10 picks. Davis Mills, third round, unsung, 16 touchdowns, 10 picks. It's funny. I just find it interesting because it's I don't know. Does it depend where you are? Does it depend about the pressure? There's a lot of variables in play. But 2 other stats: 31st in third down success rate, 31st in that, 30th in red zone. So again, young quarterback. Those crucial parts of the field, they don't convert. Those 27th in points per game, it has a lot to do with those portions of the game. What is Fields going to do? I like him. I do like this kid. I think there's potential there. I mean, Mooney, I like Mooney this year a lot too. I really do. I mean, but other than that, I mean, they have guys that some unrestricted free agents in there. Byron Pringle. I mean, now with the Chiefs, he didn't get much of an opportunity with the Chiefs. Now he's with the Bears. How much of an opportunity does he get there? I mean, if anything, they're saving themselves some money, the Bears, with these guys. Equanimus St. Brown from the Packers. I mean, guys that got a little something to prove, maybe a little chip on his shoulder. Who knows? So I want to see what happens there. But Mooney's the dude. He might be that dude this year. As long as they can complete more passes, because he got a lot of targets, Mooney, last year. So as long as they can complete, if he can increase that, get that completion percentage higher, you will see more production out of their receivers. And Montgomery, tons and tons of carries. I feel like they might kind of have a little bit more of a split. Maybe more like some more carries go to Khalil Herbert, who's last year's 6th-round pick and also got some time. But again, I mean, think about this. Offensive line. James Peters no longer there. James Daniels signs a nice contract with the Steelers. And Jermaine Ifedi is no longer there. I think I just seen him. I forgot what team he's on. Maybe the Chargers. No, not the Chargers. I covered them yesterday. So I think the Falcons. But either way, I mean, for a team that needs to keep their quarterback upright, how do they respond there? I mean, they got some draft capital there, and they signed Patrick Lucas from the Bears as their center, so maybe he can step up in that department. Although, was he there last year? I don't remember exactly. And Riley Reef signed a nice contract. So you can argue that they're pretty much going to be in the same position they were last year. So if they can hold up, they should be okay. Yeah, Lucas Patrick, Riley Reef, and Alex. And they also got Alex Leatherwood, who, when they considered a reach in the NFL draft a couple seasons ago by the Raiders, who's now has a chance to prove himself with the Bears. So I don't think they're going to be terrible in that department. Just Fields got to make more accurate, has to get the ball down. How are they going to call plays? How are they going to run their offense? Have an identity on offense. Like the Raiders, have an identity on offense. Figure it out. What are you guys going to do good? What are you guys going to do good? You can't let Fields just go out there and, I hate this word, but let him rot. No, you can't. You gotta develop these kids. That's why I wasn't always a big fan. They started doing this now, but it was like I was making an argument a few years ago. Yo, stop throwing these guys right into the fire first round. Let them learn. I mean, Mahomes was like kind of part of that little old school. Mahomes didn't play his first year. He learned. They had the right system. I guess they don't want a guy to learn when the team isn't very good to begin with. So they're like, all right, let's just like throw him in anyway. Well, the guy starting now isn't going to do too good of a job. It's like, I guess, but sometimes when you watch and learn, you watch, you pick up, and you learn. So who knows? But defensively, I mean, a lot of draft capital there too. They drafted into their defense this year. I mean, two 2nd-round picks. Jaquan Brisker from, don't tell me it's school, but he's a safety. He's 2nd round. They got him starting lineup. Kyler Gordon, they got him as a nickel back. I mean, Eddie Jackson's still one of the better safeties in football. Jalen Johnson got a lot of time last year. He's a starting left corner. So, I mean, they got some guys there, but, like, that's the thing with the Bears. They're still gonna be like difficult in some way to play against. They didn't have they have some losses in their team that you look at it and like, okay, no more Khalil Mack. Bilal Nichols is not there. Hakeem Hicks, so the guys, Eddie Goldman. So a lot of their line is not there anymore. I mean, Al-Quadin Mohammed. My God, I'm horrible with the names, but I think he's in a position. He came from the Colts, pass rusher. I think he's in a position to actually do something. I think he's in a position to team up with Robert Quinn and do his thing. I think he's in a position. I think he can fill in for Khalil Mack. He's not Khalil Mack, but I think he can fill in a little bit for Khalil Mack. Justin Jones coming from the Chargers. I mean, you got him, Angelo Blackson also. So they got beef up the middle. I mean, Blackson, I think, was there last year. So they made some maneuvers. I mean, they and Armon Watts, who was with another guy with the Vikings and now with the Bears. Like, I think they got the fill-ins. I think they got, not the fill-ins, but I think they got guys who are going to be okay. I think they're still going to be, like, middle of the pack defensively. They're not horrible. They're not horrible for sure. They're not horrible for sure. It's just one of those, be better offensively. Be better offensively, and you'll see what happens to your team overall. I think they're going to be okay as far as middle of the pack. In points against, 22nd, and that's what an offense that wasn't very good at all. So average, start getting more yardage, and you'll see your results. You'll see yourself getting at least one or two more wins. Start getting more yards. Have an identity on offense. Do yourself a favor. Have an identity on offense. All right, Green Bay Packers. We're going to move on to the Green Bay Packers. This is how much time we got going on here? How much time did I already start talking? Let's get this. Come on, load up, baby. Load up. Give me something. Taking its time. All right, we're 15 minutes in. All right, not too bad. 125. I'm missing football. I don't even know who's playing right now. That's so much of analyst I am. Green Bay Packers 13-4 from a season ago. Points 410. Points against 13th. Every single year, it's about the Packers. Packers are going to do all right. Packers are going to make the Super Bowl. I put a $100 bet on the Packers to win the Super Bowl 2 or 3 seasons ago, and they were one win away from making the Super Bowl. And I thought I was going to come home with $2,200. Didn't work. All right, they got Sammy Watkins. No more Devontae Adams, so they have Sammy Watkins. Randall Cobb is still there. Amari Raj. So they got the young studs too. I mean, of course, Mr. Alan Lazard. Everyone has him as pegged him in as, hey, when Aaron Rodgers relies on you, when he likes you, he's going to rely on you. But don't we remember, did we forget about the times when James Jones, Jordy Nelson, a little bit of Donald Driver towards the end? Give me one. Greg Jennings, remember that receiving core? I think at one point they had all four. There was a time when they were able to spread the ball around. I'm waiting for that Packers team to come back when it's not just one dude, but it's 3 or 4. That was how they ran their team, no doubt. That's what I think that Eddie Lacy, but before that, James Starks, and I think before that, somebody. But what I'm getting at is spread the ball around. You got a lot of talent. Romeo Dobbs, Dobbs, what? Forgive me, Romeo. 4th-round pick this year. Christian Watson, 2nd-round pick this year. Amari Rogers, 3rd-round pick this year. They've used picks on these guys. Let's see what they do. They got the youth. They got the veterans. I spread the ball around. I really think there's a lot of – I don't think it's not like – no Adams, sure. You can't replace an Adams. But they got – if they go back to doing what they did in the past, Rodgers has spread the ball around just fine in those late 2000s, early 2010s. They did that. They can do it again, no doubt. And then, of course, Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, they might be starting to teeter to more towards like a split, right? But that's okay. You got to keep Aaron Jones healthy anyway because, he's had an injury here or there. And then Dillon's a big boy. They have one of the better running back duos in the league. And I think they're going to use him just fine. Offensive line, like Brady, demands a lot out of them. And they usually come up and no doubt they perform and they hold up Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers usually does not touch the turf. Not too often. And when he does, he lets him know, yo, can you not let that happen again? So that's that. But as far as defensively, big for them, Jair Alexander, he's there. He didn't play a lot last year. I believe he got hurt last year, so having him back is going to help them tremendously because defending the pass last year, they were like middle of the pack. No pun intended. You see that? They were like near the middle of the league as far as rankings, but they're no doubt there for some teams. Their MO is this, MO is that, but the strength of their team is their secondary. Rasul Douglas had one of the better seasons as nickelback corner or a nickel corner. He came up with timely pick after timely pick. Does he continue? Does he relish in that role? Does he do it again? Adrian Amos, he did a switch. Remember, Bears, another thing. Bears in the division, going to the pack. A couple years with him, he's filling in nicely. He's doing his thing. But between Alexander, Eric Stokes, they found somebody, a long, rangy corner. Daniel Savage. in the safety position who gets, he's one of the underrated safeties in the league. I mean, I don't have to go on about that. They are sound defensively in the secondary. Rashawn Gary had a coming out party last year. He looks more fit than he ever has. He's in great shape. He had a great year last year. Again, solid defensively. Packers, can you stop the run? I know you had a hard time with that from time to time. Can you stop the run? They spent a lot of money on Jaron. They spent a good amount of money on Jaron Reed. So you team up Jaron Reed with Kenny Clark. That I love that. Jaron Reed with Kenny Clark as the D tackles, or those guys stuffing up the middle and preventing. To me that definitely should probably that should free up some more space to get at the quarterback. I mean, they don't get a lot of sacks. That's the one thing about the Packers. They're not going to get a ton of sacks, but they're just going to be like with. I don't want to say their best defense is their offense because they have a good defense. So they're just one of those, solid teams, a very balanced team. And a balanced team when an elite quarterback is dangerous and will always have a chance to win. And it's exactly what they have going on for them. Balanced team. So they're going to do everything well. Offensively, I don't see any problem. I really think it's just a matter of, this is my thing around them. Are they going to spread the ball around? Because they were very good at doing it in the past. I want to see them spread the ball around. When you don't know where it's going, when you don't know who it's going to, I think that's the strength of a team. Like kind of what Mahomes and the Chiefs might be doing this year. Yes, your top dog is gone, but you can spread the ball around and be okay. So if there's one thing, they're going to improve. I mean, fourth most picks last year, pass touchdowns, third most they gave up. But again, they had some. I mean, not having Alexander there who gets a lot of pet picks and this and that, but I like it. The only thing is, like I said, that running game. It comes down to the running game because they gave up their 4.7 yards against they gave up last year. If a good running team, comes in and establishes the run, I think they can. That's the way to beat the Packers. But again, it's tough to. At times, it's like when you play against those really high flying offenses. It's really tough to get the running game going because a lot of the times you either got to play catch up and you got to throw the ball. So we'll see that. But I mean, I think they'll be fine because they're returning to full health at the start of the season. So I mean, third down, I guess you could say they're better on third down. But again, I don't think there's any worry there because they're fully healthy. So that's all that matters. There's no worry. That's why there's no doubt the Packers are in deep consideration, are obviously going to be considered for the Super Bowl once again, and rightfully so. I mean, they're the best team in the division. Is that not correct? So we'll see what happens there. Let's move on to the Cardinals. I didn't write. You see this? I didn't even write any stats down for these last three teams, which stinks and all. But I'm just going to go off the top of the head here because I mean. Think about it. Again, I'm gonna go off the top of the head. I can read these stats here and there, but I didn't write much of them down for this. These are one of the teams I for some reason I didn't get to, but I'll tell you right now what's going on. First of all, storylines. Kyler Murray talking about having a study clause in his contract. Let me tell you something. When that became public, I thought that was very disrespectful. I don't know who let it out. Probably some media guy that he wanted to say, look what I did, look what I actually talked about. Look, give me credit for ratting this guy out or for letting out the sleazy details. All right, cool. Whatever. Who knows who let it out? Maybe Kingsbury let it out. Maybe just to add a little extra fire. So regardless, I think that Kyler Murray is going to have, just like Josh Allen started to develop that laser focus, I think Kyler Murray is going to have that laser focus. I think he's got a lot to prove. He's had good seasons, and then it kind of fades. I remember I had him in fantasy a couple years ago. He was having a great season, and then they started to fade a little bit. They started to lose themselves a little bit. So, again, the thing with them, you gotta keep them upright. I mean, as far as like they're kind of that middle of the pack. Offensive line, but they're not bad, and they're going to be good. But look who's there at the right guard. Will Hernandez from the Giants. So it's so great. I mean, you got to love it. If you're Cardinals, you've got to feel pretty good about it because you're like, you know what? I'm getting a former, what was he, first, second round draft pick? You got to feel pretty good about it. You think you're going to be able to reinvent his career. So it's not a bad spot for him to be. But let's see how he does there. He's probably one of the most heavily penalized guys in the league, if I'm not mistaken. And then they got Kevin. I mean, they got offensive line that should be all right. I mean, Murray, regardless, he's going to he's going to scramble. He's going to run for first downs. He's going to make plays. He's going to get the ball out. Although I want to see how he does. I'm not gonna just hide here and say it. I always felt that he was a little bit overrated. I always felt that he had something more to prove. Like, for instance, Cole Coy came in his absence for 1 or 2 games, right? And he ran the offense like it was nothing. I mean, kudos to Colt McCoy for being a well-prepared quarterback and a guy who's always ready to play. He's always been a decent quarterback. Like, he'll stick around because of that, although I don't see him on his backup this year. Trace McSorley is a backup. But it makes you want – I mean, you threw for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns this time. I'm like, yo. So it goes to show you, is it the offense scheme? Is it Kingsbury? Excuse me. What is it? So, Murray, I want to see you step up. I want to see you do your thing. So, for me, A.J. Green is there. They have no DeAndre Hopkins. Okay. They're not. So, he'll be out. He'll be suspended for a few games. Marquise Brown, I absolutely love Marquise Brown this year. I mean, the thing with Marquise Brown with the Ravens is he going to get the football? Can you get this guy the football? Please get this guy the football. He's upset that he's not getting the football. A lot of targets, not a lot of catches. Can you imagine what he can do? If he increases his catch total? He's going to increase his yards. So I think the Cardinals are going to probably get the most out of him because they like to throw that deep ball, and Marquise Brown likes to throw that deep ball. But he's not just a deep ball threat. So the more catches, I want to see him get. There's a chance he gets 80 catches this year, close to 90 catches this year. I want to see what his final stat line looks then. And when is Andy Isabella going to break out? This kid, he's really talented. I want to see what he does. He's a second-round pick just a few years ago, in 2019. So let's just see what happens there. I mean, and Rondale Moore, to me, is going to be – I want to see what Rondale Moore – just like Brian Edwards, to me, Rondale Moore is going to be one of those guys that people pick up on the waiver wire because he has a good week. 6 catches. 7 catches. He's one of those guys. So they're going to spread the ball around. They got his boy Zach Ertz is there. Had a nice resurgence. They got 5 running backs right now on the active roster according to the depth chart. And defensively, what are they going to do? See, they're one of those teams where they could take the ball away. They're one of those teams where they couldn't be really difficult to play against. And J.J. Watt, I want to see a big J.J. Watt type of season. I want to see J.J. Watt stay healthy. The thing is, it's all spread around this defense. They have, a few first-round picks there. Their line, what's called the star? Wow, there's a defensive position called star. Where are my football personnel? Where are my defensive corners out there? What's a star? That's interesting. That's Isaiah Simmons. Yeah, he's a star, right? He's supposed to be a star. So they're athletic. They're going to run all over the football field. They got a lot of versatility. There are a lot of guys that they rotate as well. So as far as the Cardinals, are they going to be more sound? It just comes down to the Cardinals, and are they going to be more sound? Because one thing is it's going to be a tough division. It's going to be a difficult, no doubt. It's going to be one of the tougher divisions of football, like it usually is. I mean, maybe do they supplant the Rams this time around? Do they win that playoff game? Did they not play the playoffs? Play the Rams in the playoff last season? Right? Am I not mistaken? So what I'm looking at how do they play within the division. I want to know how they operate their offense, and I want to know how they, if they can finish a season. Is what I'm looking at. 11-6 last year. Let's not act like they're wearing a good football team. And I think there's room for improvement. 11-6, 11th in points for, 11th in points against. So clearly they're one of the better teams in football, one of the most talented teams in football. But they started to lose games last season. What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They lost 4 out of their last 5 games after starting the season 7-0. So that's the thing. It's like you can't fade. You can't fade. So that's what I'm looking at as far as the Cardinals. Don't fade. Finish strong. Show the world that you can be that team that people should worry about. So that's what I'm thinking about with the Cardinals, and I think we're going to move on from that team. So just finish your season, finish strong, and prove that you can be. You're not just a flash in the pan, and you actually can be a very consistent football team. Simple as that. We're going to move on. We're going to move on now. We're going to move on to the San Francisco 49ers. I was looking into it. And I was thinking, no wonder why. No wonder why the 40 that Kyle Shanahan is considered probably a coach of the year candidate, pretty much like not every year, but recently, right? I mean, the thing with the 49ers is, again, they're good. Their strength is the defensive line, no doubt. Their strength is the defensive line. That's their MO. I mean, that's what makes them great. That's what makes them good. They have a lot of strength in the defensive line. They get after the quarterback, um, or they create a lot of pressures on the quarterback. But for me, I believe that they're going to be, well, where they were previously is that in their secondary. In their secondary. You see, linebackers wise, defensive front, they're going to be fine. But what I noticed that they've been struggling with is really preventing touchdown passes or preventing the other team from throwing a ball all over them. It's like they do just enough. They create enough pressure on you, um, and within like stacking them or like with your linebackers and in the defensive personnel up front. But it's you can attack them in the secondary. So, but teams really haven't been able to because of their, you know, uh, who they have in the box, and that's the strength of their team. So either way, what I'm looking at here, I mean, they're getting their sacks from Bosa, but they're not really they're getting their sacks anywhere else. If they can get another closer, as far get into the quarterback, I mean, I think they would benefit from there. But Javon Kinlaw, I'm all eyes on Javon Kinlaw this season. That's who I'm really looking at. I mean, I think for them, that's somebody who they drafted in the first round, and they're going to really need to step up. I mean, DJ Jones is no longer there. He was second on the team last season with 10 tackles for losses. He's moved on. I believe DJ Jones could be with the Broncos, if I'm not mistaken. He signed a nice little contract with the Broncos. So, as far as that, I think that's what I'm focusing on. I want to look at Javon Kinlaw, and he's got to stay healthy and he's got to perform because they drafted him high. He was a high draft pick, and I can see why. He's a monster of a man. So how does he help the 49ers defense? Because they're going to need that to take some pressure off the back end in their secondary. And, but again, for them, it's really not like we can focus a lot on their defense. Like you really can. But they've also made some nice moves. I like George Odom as their safety this year, coming from a secondary in the Colts where they flew around all over the field and it created turnovers. So yeah, for sure, I like it. They spent some money on Travarius Ward from KC, so as you can see, they also knew that they got to be better. Obviously, they know, and they got Deshaun Gibson Sr., who's actually got some game left. So they added 3 guys in the secondary because they need to be better in that department. I'm looking at the numbers. I'm like, okay, yeah. Everyone thinks Niners defense, yeah, for sure. But if they're not getting that pressure, I mean, you can beat them. You can complete a lot of passes on them. You can, throw for touchdown them. That was the thing. But it's a matter of being able to get the ball out and get comfortable, which the Niners do their best at preventing quarterbacks from doing that. So Kinlaw, if it's all eyes on him because then that also helped the secondary. But the secondary has improved based off the moves that they've made, which I really like, especially Travarius Ward because they've been needing that lockdown. I mean, they moved on from Josh Norman, but he started 15 games last year, and he was a vet. We're talking Travarius Ward, what, mid-20s, in his 20s, coming from KC. He's established himself as a good corner, right? So I think that they're going to be better there. I don't know. I'm reading over here, but I'm just thinking like That's what I'm looking at. I mean, Josh Norman was in his 30s. You needed to get better back there, and it looks like they might have. So overall, I think I can see the Niners being better, but I didn't even talk about their offense. Again, you know what they're going to do. Little changes here and there with the offensive line, but the system is in place. Like the Broncos in the past, where Kyle Shanahan's dad, Mike Shanahan, was running that, and no matter who was the running back, whether it be Reuben Drones, whether it be Tatum Bell, whether it be Gary Anderson, right? Am I wrong on these names? Guys that it doesn't matter who they were, where they got drafted, they went in there and they did their thing. That running scheme. That's what Kyle Shanahan has here with the 49ers. I mean, I know Elijah Mitchell had a great season last year, but I'm looking at this kid, Tyrion Davis-Price. Looks like a complete back. You might see some of him. But again, Mitchell's in line for a lot of work. Why would you not give him the ball? Jeffrey Wilson's good to see him, healthy for the whole year, hopefully, because he was battling some injuries. I think an ankle injury last year. So they got their depth there. I mean, I guess I would look for Tyrion Davis-Price to come in, maybe do something. But Elijah Mitchell is that dude for now. But besides even mentioning that, hello, Trey Lance. They better not be a back and forth. That's the last thing the 49ers want is a back and forth between Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo. That's the last thing you want. So what they're going to want to do there is they're going to want to make sure that they get Trey Lance established. When I seen him come out and watch his highlights, I said, wait, not for nothing. What? No offense to the guy, but what's special? Like, he still has a lot to grow, but you're going to pick him in early, first round? Early first round? What was that again? Third? What was it? Top 10, right? Really high? 5? I don't know. I didn't see anything spectacular, and it just threw me off. So that's what's going on. They're getting these guys who aren't spectacular, and they're getting drafted really high, but then you got to fully develop them. It's the strangest thing in the NFL. Why don't you just have them sit and let them watch? Don't just throw them in. But as far as this case, it's a whole different. Like, he's a project. He's a project. You're drafting a project that early? Why don't you just stay in college and get better? So, yeah, got to get the ball to guys like Ayuk. I'm looking at Ayuk this year. I'm looking at a lot of Ayuk. I see Ray McLeod. I think Ray McLeod's going to do a lot of that jet sweep. You're going to see him run across the field. He's going to be a decoy a lot of the time. They're going to get creative, like they usually do the Niners, without a doubt. But I want to see Ayuk, of course, Debo. Debo with the contract. I'm not a running back. I'm a wide receiver. Pay me if you are going to do that, pay me as both. Sure. I mean, Juwan Jennings was coming on last year. They found something there. But come on. Ayuk. He's there. He's not there. He's ultra talented, obviously. So they got something. It just comes down to the quarterback. Execute the plays. This is a dangerous team. No doubt. Once again, the Niners are a dangerous team. So that's what we're looking at there. A whole lot is said. Did it help you? Who knows? But once again, I mean, no doubt they're a dangerous team. They got all the personnel. It's just a matter of all right, Trey Lance, don't become a project. Become a player. All right? Don't flip-flop between Garoppolo and Trey Lance. That's the last thing you need. It's just going back. It's like going back to old girlfriend. Although, it's stupid to say because it's not like he's not available or he's a free agent. You pick him up. That's like going back to an old girlfriend. But it's like he's still on the roster, sure. But it's like if they're flip-flopping, that's the last thing they need. Stick at one and go with it. Go with it. Get the ball in the playmaker's hands. So that's that. Mr. Ray McLeod. Look at that. All right. Last team, the Seattle Seahawks. Is it fair to say that the Seattle Seahawks are going to compete with the Falcons as the worst team in football? I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of good teams. There's a lot of strong teams for sure. More so than ever, there's a lot of teams that are more towards the middle of the pack. There's not a lot of horrible teams. It's like sports in general because I guess it's analytic. I don't know what's going on, but there's not a lot of horrible teams. There's no more horrible teams. There's a lot of parity. There's a lot of middle of the pack teams. And I feel like the Seahawks aren't going to be horrible. I think they're going to be competitive. I mean, they're going to be competitive. I mean, can you imagine them being horrible? Can you imagine is Pete Carroll he's just saying, you know what? I'm throwing in the towel in my last year. I heard he was saying something. He said something. He was saying some crazy stuff apparently. or his expectations this year are really high. I mean, he knows that he has to talk up his team. He knows that he has to speak in a manner in which they're going to believe what he says, and he should believe that. So, I mean, why not? Why not speak in a manner that's going to rally your players? Like, they're not dead. Yeah, they might not have Russell Wilson. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a huge blow. It's a huge blow. It's like, Mr. Generational Talent. But I don't think the Seahawks can get disrespected. I mean, Geno Smith, my man, like, please do yourself a favor. Run with this opportunity. This is it for you. I mean, this is you'll probably be on other rosters here and there, but it's like, I mean, if you go hold off Drew Lock, I mean, you got Drew Lock. Denver got Drew Lock, but they get Drew Lock in a trade for Russell Wilson. Like, no offense to Drew Lock, but dude, you're not, you have a lot to prove, my man. Now you're a risk taker, but you're not. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Drew Lock. He thinks he's great, which is awesome, but I want to see more. He needs to be coached up. So anyway, with that being said, I mean, their wide receivers are intact. Lockett and Metcalf are still there. I mean, they got D. Eskridge, second-round pick a couple years ago. They haven't really used him, but, they got Marquise Goodwin, the Mr. Olympian. Do you guys know that Marquise Goodwin is a U.S. Olympian? Do yourself a favor and check that out. But or was a U.S. Olympian, or was and still is. Once you are, you always will be. So, yeah, I mean, offensive line, they ran the ball, especially in the last part of the season last year. Near the end of the season, Rashard Penny was having an amazing 6 weeks. He's still there. Nice to see him break out, do his thing, because they needed that. Because first-round pick a few years ago, so it made you wonder, like, damn, he's out the first running back in the first round. He barely used him. So, I mean, what's his face? Chris Carson. What a strange ending. You're going to see a YouTube video, not from me, but eventually some people saying, the strange ending, a crazy ending, or the strangest ending to this man's career. Like, it's going to be strange, because it really was. But and then they got Kenneth Walker the second, so they're going to mix into – they always mix in a bunch of running backs. They always use a bunch of running backs. I remember J.D. McKissick a few years back when he first got introduced. He was wearing number 41, right? He caught a pass down the field, like a long catch. And I was like, wait, is this guy a running back or wide receiver? And he's wearing number 41 too. So I was like, not that that's a wide receiver's number. But I seen that, and then he had a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown in the same game. I was like, oh, who would have known that was the premonition, or that was a foresight to who he is today with the Redskins. That's his role, carved out a role in the NFL. But yeah, Noah Fant getting no love. I mean, Will Dissly, we're still waiting for him to be Will Dissly, who they talk about. He's still talented. But, I mean, they're going to keep it simple to Seahawks. They're going to keep it real simple to Seahawks, I believe. They're going to really run the football. It's just a matter of, like, getting down the field. Is Geno going to be able to throw the ball down the field? Make those, not complex throws, but get the ball to the receivers. Because you got two really talented down-the-field receivers. Can Geno get it to them? Drew Lock could throw it down the field, but can Geno, get it to them? So that might be, Geno one day, Drew Lock the other. They might go back and forth with that. So, but I think they're going to – because of that, I think they're going to be sound. I think they're going to be good defensively. It's going to be one of those better than bend but don't break defenses. But being that they're limited on offense as far as, I guess their potential to score points, I think they're really going to be – they're going to hunker down. Like I told you, they're going to be like the Broncos defense. See, ironically, they're going to be like the Broncos defense. See, Russell Wilson's now with the Seahawks, with the Broncos. I think, ironically, it's going to be one of those type of defenses where they're going to not be very good offensively, but they're going to, because of the situation they have on hand, they're going to get at it, and they're going to be tough. They're going to be pretty tough to play against. I mean, they talk about one of the better safety duels in the league, Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs. I mean, those two guys are making money. I think they're both top 10 highest paid safeties in the league. So a lot of their plays are going to go through them. They're going to make most of their plays. They're going to be involved in many of them. So, I mean, and other than that, I mean, I love the Uchenna Nwosu pickup from the Chargers. I love that pickup. I think it was a fair value deal as well. Not much, he's not breaking the bank. He's had a nice contract with them. I think he's going to fit in nicely. He's going to help them stop the run. That's one thing the Seahawks. They weren't very good at, as far as pass wise. I believe that they improved. But as far as stopping the run, that's something that they better get better at, because if they're not if they're getting off the field quick, or they're not able to stop or create their own offense, and then they have to then stop the run on the other side, they're gonna really be. Let's just say it's gonna be a long struggle for them. It's gonna be a difficult season for them. So I think that as long as they can stop the run, that they should be a little bit better, which is why they picked up in Wilsu, which is why they made those maneuvers. So I mean, the thing is though, I'm talking out of here, but if anything, by looking at it, I'm looking at it here. I didn't even wow. I'll take it on this one. I'll take it on the chin on this one. I mean, they weren't bad at stopping the run last year. Really think about it. Wow. They were tied for the second fewest yards per carry. Their rush defense. They gave it the only 3.8 yards per carry, and they really tried. They really tried on the fifth most attempts against. So, I mean, excuse me for being way off on that. I didn't do my research. This is what I'm talking about. I didn't see a lot of the Seahawks last year. I just seen that what they do is, because they got a guy like Russell Wilson, but what they do have is, I'll say this. I mean, Darrell Taylor and Jordan Brooks. I love that draft class. I love the fact that they got two really athletic, linebacker / pass rushers. I love it. It's like they move on from Bobby Wagner, and they pick up Jordan Brooks. I got to be happy about that. I mean, I'm not saying they're the same player, but they're both cover a lot of ground. It's just that Brooks is a lot younger at this point. So yeah, I mean, good for them. I mean, they know what it is. They got a lot of beef up front. Poona Ford and Al Woods, big dudes. Shelby Harris now coming over in that same trade with from the Russell Wilson trade. So, and they got some. You know what they did? They got Noah Fant, for Drew Lock, and Shelby Harris. So they got three 53-man roster players. Not draft picks, not capital like that. They got players, which is something you don't see often. You don't normally see trades happen when you get actually players in return. So that was pretty interesting to see that. So, I mean, it's kind of weird, too. It's like, I don't remember the full trade on there, but it's like, all right, Fant for sure. Harris, he's been around. And Drew Lock is, like, not proven. So you can't even, like, I'm pretty sure the Broncos would take that. That's, like, a hell of a trade for the Broncos, no doubt. So yeah, I mean, I was off on that defense thing. I'll take it on the chin on that one. I really thought that they weren't that good. That's the thing, though. I mean, if you look at their stats overall, I mean, they had solid numbers. I mean, they were able to. They had a lot of come from behind victories. I mean, points against, they were 11th in points against. That's wild, right? You won't even realize that they were 11th in points against. So much improvement from the year prior. And again, it has to come down to the play of their safeties. And now they added a couple guys, and then now they have Darrell Taylor and Jordan Brooks coming back, and they got the beef up front. So if anything, you can argue that on all levels in the defense that they have their own. They're going to be they're sound. So again, tough team, sound team, and it's like they got one variable, they got another. But can they, at this point, make enough plays down the field in the crucial moments? Again, like they say, and I was reading this somewhere, and somebody made a great point. It's like, I'm not too worried about them on offense as far as like moving the ball here and there, because the running game's going to be good. But it's like most games are won late. Most games, and especially the Seahawks, win their game on fourth quarter comebacks with Wilson or like game-winning drives. So with Russell Wilson removed, does that come back? Are they going to be able to get some of those? I mean, Geno and Drew Lock are going to do that. So they don't have a lot of experience doing it. So that's why, I mean, at 7-10, I can see them at least having – there's a chance that they have a repeat. At least they can have a repeat performance, because remember, they didn't have Wilson for a few games too. So I would say at least they have 5 to 6, 7 wins. I mean, on the lower spectrum. Who knows? But I think it's a fair bet they're in that 5 to 7 range. I mean, maybe more of a 4 to 6 range. But I'd say 7-10. I'm not going to predict records right now. I'm not going to get into that. But a lot to like about the Seahawks. It's just that that's another destination. Panthers are a destination. Seahawks are a destination. Even the Eagles, under some argument, can be a destination. Who knows? Maybe Jalen Hurts winds up on the Seahawks. Who knows? But what I'm getting at, those are some destinations where there's some people. There's some question marks. I'm not going to say too much about the Eagles with the question mark and Jalen Hurts, but Seahawks and Panthers, but Seahawks for sure. There's opportunities there. So can you imagine? You add another good quarterback. It's going to be a favorable destination. I don't want to overlook, count off Geno and Drew Lock just yet, but I want to see what happens. But that's a favorable destination. There's going to be Pete Carroll's encore for all we know. There's a lot going on. There's a lot being said. It's like a radio program. Please stick with me. But that's it. That's 2:00. I missed the first hour of football. I spoke for almost 6 hours, 5 hours maybe. My God, I didn't shut up. My tone. My God, I gotta operate a full battery, guys. This is it. This is my notebook. This is my open forum. This is my open discussion. This is me, whatever I wrote down in my notebook and whatever I remember, whatever I can just when I visualize a team and when I think about, storyline wise, and then I see what they added and dropped, and all that's important. But it is important to follow the game. It's important to know the game. It's important to watch the game. Don't I messed up with that Seahawks defense. That's really kicking me in the ass. I feel like it lowers my credibility. But believe me, I watch this stuff. I really do. But I haven't watched every Seahawks game. But at the same time, it's just certain things with certain teams you just know about, storylines. So what to pay attention to. Look at the stats. But most importantly, watch the game. Don't blabber stuff that you don't know about. Right? YouTube Sports Network. But this is it. It's a work in the progress here. I'm working on a lot of things. As of right now, we're going to do with this. We're going to rock with this method. And remember, just stick with me. It's unorthodox. It's all over the place as of now. Maybe it's always going to continue to be that way. I'm coming at you a little bit different, but I'm coming out with you with a lot of research, with a lot of facts, a lot of opinions, and most importantly, with a lot of passion and love for game and sports in general. So if you're down for that, please sign up, love it, subscribe, whatever you do, hit the like button. Share, whatever the hell it is, do whatever. But at the end of the day, I got what I had to say out. Just believe in it. Just believe in this. Believe me, believe in it. Peace out and enjoy the rest of the football Sunday, week 1, 2022 NFL season. This is the YouTube Sports Network.